Okay, let's see who we have on here. It's been a little while since I've been on this YouTube channel, but I thought it'd be a good time for us to go ahead and kick the tires and check out on the landscape. I am a winter weather fanatic, and it frustrates me that I haven't done more work so far this winter. Been busy on a few projects, but I do want to take the time as I'm looking out through the remainder of the month of January, and February is now within sight. I do see some pattern shifts that are beginning to occur. Yes, I believe winter will be making a grand return in the coming weeks across portions of the lower 48. So in this special update, that's what we're going to be talking about is tracking, well, in the near term, we've got a storm of interest for portions of the Northeast this weekend. Possible coastal storm, low pressure, kind of ill defined by many of the models. Some blowing this up into a sizable storm, impacting much of the Northeast. Some actually keeping it much further south, weaker, and kind of shifts it out to sea. So we'll be covering what to expect this weekend in regards to a potential coastal low or a nor'easter. And then looking into the first week or two of February, talking about when we're expecting that return of Old Man Winter. And I think it's coming. I think we're overdue, and you know that's true. All right, we won't spend a whole lot of time on this program, maybe about 10 minutes, but a quick thanks to our sponsors who are on here: Webster Interiors, Equitech.com, Paris Heating and Cooling, Midas on Empire, also Leaning Elm Films, Thomas Garden Center, and Vital Signs on Ridge Road. Thank you very much for making this program a possibility, serving not just greater Rochester, New York, and Western New York, but this particular channel here on YouTube, serving much of the United States when it comes to impactful weather. So we thank you for that. All right, what we're looking at is a rather lackluster into what's already been a mediocre January. Relatively mildness as we finish out the last 5 days or so of the month. I don't see any big storms. I think for Rochester, Western New York, we cool down next couple of days, briefly warm it back up going into the weekend. And then starting Sunday, we'll watch the temperatures tumbling again. But all that's going to kind of hinge around this storm, potential storm around February 1st, 2nd, a possible coastal low that I think it's a problem for forecasters because models are all over the place for this thing. Anywhere from a significant storm bringing heavy snow to New York City, to Providence, to Boston, to really a rather weak low that shifts south, doesn't bring much more than a light rain snow mixture to portions of the Northeast. So that's coming up this weekend, and then a full-scale pattern shift coming up February 5th through the 6th. And I think that is legit. I've been tracking this for about a week and a half now, and that looks like it's definitely well on the way. So that's at play. That's what's coming. Let's talk about what we have happening outside right now. We'll get you started with temperatures. Current look at national temperature spread, and for January, this is pretty weak. I mean, it's nice, I guess, if you live in Houston and you've got a current temperature of about 70 outside right now. Okay, that feels pretty good. But look, there's really no cold. We've got 30s and some 20s. That's it for the lower 48s. I mean, there's just really not a lot of cold out there, and this is the way it's been. So maybe cold enough for a little bit of snow, but that's about it across the northern tier. There's not just winter just is not sinking its teeth in right now. All the cold limited to the north. It's cold up north. There ain't no doubt about it. You're taking a look into portions of Alaska, for instance, where it's 15, 20, 25 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit right now. And then you've got a large section of territory across the pole into Siberia, Greenland included in that, where those temperatures are bone-crushing cold. And, you can only keep that stuff bottled up so long before it comes crashing back down. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at here in the weeks ahead. The cold finally getting more entrenched across portions of the United States. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in one shot, although I think next week we are looking at a game changer as we head on into the 5th. That is right around the 5th to the 6th, which will be a Wednesday, Thursday. So now this coming Wednesday, Thursday, but the following one. So before we get to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about this storm that's going to be impacting the Northeast this weekend. Or will it? Or will it? While we're getting started, just want to say hi to a few of our friends. There's Don Lazecki and Jack Allen in the house. We've got about 22 people liking or watching the program. A like would be nice, by the way. I'm just saying, I'm going to throw that out there. That's nice. And again, this is a page that I started back in the spring. We covered some severe weather, some tornadoes, did well. I had intended to do more with it. Got sidetracked by life, right? Life happens. But I've been waiting and planning on making this page more active. So hopefully that's what we'll do in the weeks and months ahead, certainly for the remainder of winter. And spring is a great time to be tracking severe weather. All right, with that being said, this weekend, let me show you what we've got here. Again, potential coastal low. And this is the European forecast model, showing basically that low pretty suppressed, way suppressed. The primary low, here's the one on the first. And look, I mean, this is honestly, it looks nothing like the storm that it was advertising just a couple of days ago. Looks nothing like it. It's got like two parts to it, three if you include up here in the Northeast. Take a look at this. So there's a low down here over the Gulf. There's a low over the Atlantic. And there's also a trough that's digging into portions of Quebec and Ontario. Well, that was supposed to be a storm. You go back even just to last night's 0Z run. This is the last night run. Okay, yeah, okay. It started with the further south trend last night. That's the European. Here's the previous run to that. So the Euro is really saying this is a no-go. All right, so let's take into consideration what the GFS is saying. This is the 18Z, and it says snow for places like New York, Boston, Hartford, Portland, Maine. And so that may be a pretty decent snow. That's the 18Z. This is the 12Z. Again, same sort of thing. So there's a big difference between the GFS and the Euro. So let me see what the Canadian says, and then we're going to move on to the other. And the Canadian, as of earlier today, still showing potential for big snow. There's a huge difference between the main medium range models. The Canadian, I mean, that would be a pretty nasty compact storm. But look at that. That's a 966 low. All right, I'm not buying the Canadian solution. But could the GFS be correct? Either way, snow for the big cities, light snow for western and upstate New York. So that's coming up here this weekend. So we'll have a little time to watch that. All right, right now it is 7:45 Eastern time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this program. I just kind of wanted to get back into the habit of getting on here, talking weather on a regional and a national level. So that's what we're doing. Next thing we're going to do, video quality is great on here, says Rochester TV Archive. Follow him. That's Jack Allen. So he kind of knows his thing when it comes to digital media and specifically YouTube and Facebook. So give Jack a follow if you haven't already. So next order of business, let's talk about what's coming up over the next 6 to 10, then 8 to 14 days. We'll start you off with the Climate Prediction Center's outlook. I think they're basically right. I'm not going to, they might be off a little bit here or there, but I think overall the gist of this is correct. Oh, didn't mean to draw. Let me move this map over just a smidge. All right, how about that? That looks better, doesn't it? I think so. So basically 6 to 10 day, it says it's above average temperature wise. All right, how about the 8 to 14? Well, let's go over to that. All right, it's still milder than average for most of the eastern and southern U.S., but again, it's pushing it south and pushing it away, and you're beginning to see that cold air intrusion. I think the cold air comes in a little bit faster than what it's showing here. In fact, I really like that right around 11, 12 days out. Again, I've already given you the dates. It's February the 5th and 6th, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, not this week, next week. I think that the cold returns and maybe for good. Here's your month outlook for the month of February, progressively colder across central, eastern, and northeastern United States. I think this is correct. and I can show you data that's going to back that up. All right, before we get to that, let's take a look at the current jet stream pattern here. If you're watching the verbiage at the bottom, that's specific to northeastern or western New York and Rochester. Again, I'm just kind of playing around with the channel right now. That'll actually be included in our Facebook show, which airs at 8:45 Sunday through Thursday. We'll have one on tonight here in about an hour. That's Weather Live at 8:45. This particular program, though, again, I want to kind of highlight the overall pattern that we're seeing across the United States right now. The North America's got a split flow. And what I mean by split flow is the fact that we've got two branches of the jet stream. We've got the one branch down here, the southern, that's carrying moisture and some weak disturbances, but all the cold is up here across Canada. That's the northern branch. In time, these two branches will phase as one, and we'll be watching as that occurs. So this is the way it looks according to the GFS. Oh, get off. I had my toaster on. That was an accident. Maybe I can turn it off. Clear the whiteboard. There we go. All right, so the GFS showing you again that split level flow that we have right now. In time, though, notice your jet stream winds get stronger, and what you're seeing is a consolidation of the northern branch and the southern branch. So in time, these storms become stronger. And so what we're seeing for this weekend, pretty sharp trough developing across the Northeast. I think that will probably come with multiple lows as per the European forecast model. Could one affect coastal sections of New England? Maybe, but I think it's going to be a coastal hugger if it does develop like the GFS is saying. All right, looking beyond that, I don't think the weekend's nor'easter is going to be a blockbuster of a storm. If nothing else, it is going to usher in some colder air behind for the second half of the weekend. Temperatures moderate a little bit behind that, but then this is the game changer here as we're looking into a full-scale trough. This is a hemispheric trough. I mean, the entire northern hemisphere goes into a trough, and this will be 5th and 6th. It begins to get its act together. I think this is when Mother Nature ushers in the cold for all of the eastern United States. And that's when we, again, have the big time pattern change that we've been expecting for a while. So this is the way it looks like as far as 850 temperatures are concerned. Showing you we've got not a lot of cold out there now. Look how far north it is. But look at the cold as it comes into the United States. This is the entire North American hemisphere. That the pink is cold, the white is very cold, and there it is arriving right there on the 5th and 6th. Again, for eastern United States, that could be an Arctic outbreak. I think it will be. I think we are looking at an Arctic outbreak about 10, 12 days out. It's been in the data for a while. And I think once the cold gets established, it's going to be more difficult to move. And then do we see nor'easters after that into that second week of February? There's one really mature one showing up here in the data around the 7th or 8th. Again, it's very difficult to say that far out exactly when and where. Just know that the pattern would be conducive for maybe a nor'easter around that time frame. All right, so this is the final thing I want to show you. This is European ensemble temperatures as we head on into the next 2 weeks ahead, kind of corresponding with what we've been saying. It is mild now. Get just a little bit of a cool down here as we head towards the middle of the week. And then finally, that big red blob moves away. And look at that. That's a shot. That's 5th and 6th, as advertised for the cold to return for February. This is February 7th, this is February 8th, and it may very well continue through the middle of the month. So all of this cold sets up shop across much of the North American continent. It may take a while for that to move. So that's something we'll be watching in the days ahead. Anyway, that's really all I had planned to show you guys. I wanted to say, A, January continues to be mediocre and mild. B, we're looking at some pattern changes ahead. Coastal low, possible. I think if it does occur, it's on the immediate coast and south, rather weak. That's for this weekend. That's on the 1st and also on the 2nd. And then as we look further ahead towards the 5th and 6th, I believe that winter makes a grand return. Cold that's been bottled up across northern Canada, Alaska, finally begins to tumble back down into the eastern and central United States. So that may be the real deal. We'll watch it in time. As I said, this channel just started back basically this past spring. Had some success covering severe weather. Severe weather is my passion. Love winter weather though as well. I'm a bit of a fanatic. We haven't had much to talk about. My intent was to use this channel more frequently than I have in recent. I think the last official weather update here was Hurricane Dorian, back in what was it, September, August maybe? Been a while. So my plan is to kind of test the waters. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. And if you're new to it, hit the subscribe. Maybe you'll give me a share. But I promise to come back with more of these updates. Working on some new maps as well that I like to introduce over the next couple of weeks. Focusing on winter, because winter, it's far from over. In fact, I think it's just about to begin again. So more on that in the coming days. Hopefully you enjoyed the program. Hopefully I'll see you back. If you like this program, you might like my other program. It's Facebook based. We'll be on my Facebook page. Look me up, Jeremy Capel, Capel with a K. That's Weather Live at 8:45. Oh, shoot. I've got a show coming up in about 50 minutes. Maybe I'll see you there. Until then, thanks to our sponsors.